Oh, don't you just love how the gaming press is so keen to spin every story to make it sound positive when often it's in fact a complete joke? We've seen some, serious stories relating to stuff like this and the way the gaming press has gone after gamers of late. And I'm thinking of Diablo and what happened there with their conference and how fans reacted and how then the journalists seem to act like, well, apologists for the Diablo creators. And I think that if you look at gaming journalism, often it's little more than ad copy for the gaming industry. And there are exceptions to that. We've got, the likes of Jason Schreier, and he sometimes gets it wrong, but for the most part, I think he's a genuine guy who does genuine journalism. And, that's worth its weight in gold in the current climate. But what I want to talk about today is maybe a little less important, but it's part of that same issue. The fact we've got, on the one hand, we've got the gaming press talking about how great something is, and then you've got fans looking at it and going, really? And what I'm talking about specifically is in the last week, we've had the likes of IGN hailing the arrival of 3 new games to the lineup of free. No, we're paying for them as part of the subscription. But, free games to the Nintendo Switch online service. It's a big deal, apparently, because they've put up in great big capitals as a massive headline, 3 new NES games, including Metroid, are headed into Nintendo Switch Online next week. Like it's a big deal. And, shouting it from the rooftops. And we know about Metroid because it's in the title, but the 3 games are Metroid, Mighty Bomb Jack, and Twinbee. And 2 of the games I couldn't care less about, and Metroid, while welcome, isn't exactly an earth-shattering development. IGN, I don't know, they just seem to think, and I'm not sure whether they genuinely think it's a big deal, but it's splattered all over the page. And we get this all the time. I mean, it's not just unique to Nintendo. We get it about the releases for Xbox and the releases for PlayStation as well. And I just think it's a symptom. But for me, I'm not sure that this is a big deal at all. And it's hardly even worth talking about in terms of, they've dropped a couple of new games. Whoopee-doo. Big deal. For me, it's a bit like in 1984 when the state keeps telling everybody how much better everything's getting, while, it continues to get worse. And while Switch Online isn't getting worse, it is scarcely getting any better. And frankly, it couldn't actually be getting much worse. It was a dog's breakfast at launch. Switch Online's been up and running since September. And since it's been live, its value for money, as far as I'm concerned, seems to be less and less evident. I'm not sure exactly what we're paying for. We have online connections that aren't robust with peer-to-peer connections instead of dedicated servers. We've got a voice chat app that's been, well, everyone's talked about it and it's virtually useless and frankly is a nightmare to use. Save game backups are behind a paywall. And, there's no way to back up your saves unless you pay for the online service. And then not all save games are able to be backed up to the service anyway. Games like Dark Souls, FIFA 19, Pokemon Let's Go, Splatoon 2, and presumably others down the line. And, we've got no virtual console and no sign of it ever appearing. And, from my perspective, I think a lot of gamers are a little bit fixated on the idea of the virtual console. And I do think they're probably flogging a dead horse on that one. I don't think we're going to see the virtual console. We may do, but that's my gut. And I think some of the noises coming out of Nintendo suggest that maybe we won't see a virtual console. So maybe we need to stop banging on about that. The new service could actually be much better. It could actually be better than the virtual console. Certainly could be more value for money if you're paying your money every month or, your yearly fee to Nintendo, which isn't that expensive. And if Nintendo pull their fingers out and actually add a decent number of games from multiple systems such as the SNES, the N64, GameCube, Nintendo DS, if they did that, then it would actually be better value for money and better than the virtual console, in my opinion anyway. Hell, why not even go back and add some really old stuff like Nintendo Game & Watch games? Then at least the service will become a showcase for Nintendo's legacy. If they did that, the clamour for the virtual console would virtually subside. At least among the more sane Nintendo fans. The lunatic fringe would probably still whine on about something for no apparent reason. If Nintendo did, by some miracle, actually do what I suggest, then their online service would start to look a bit more like value for money. But as it stands, well, as I say, it's utterly insulting to those of us who've bothered to pay for it. And if you paid for the family package, as I did, it looks even worse. But even with a whole lot more games from other consoles such as the N64, it would still suffer in comparison with both the Xbox Live service and PlayStation Online. Of the three, the Xbox service is the best, offering the most stable and robust online backups and dedicated servers for many games. But even when compared to PlayStation Now, Nintendo Switch Online looks utterly anemic. As it stands, Nintendo Switch Online offers, well, nothing. Peer-to-peer for a paid service is not acceptable. Half-assed cloud saves are not acceptable. And poor implementation of voice chat is not acceptable. They haven't even implemented gamerscore or trophies on the system, which I find utterly dumbfounding. And look, I know not everybody cares about that sort of stuff, but some people do. And it can enhance people's fun when playing. So why not introduce something like that? Or do you not know how to do it, Nintendo? It's still early days for the system, but when you factor in that it took over a year for it to appear at all, well, as I think I said in a previous video, you have to wonder what on earth Nintendo were playing at. What were they doing? Were they sitting on their hands or sat back smoking cigars? I honestly, I don't know what they were doing. And I don't even know what they were thinking. Did they really think that a service like this would be acceptable? As I say, I know I've said much of this before in previous videos, but I really did hope that we would be seeing more from Nintendo by now. I thought that as we approached Christmas this year, they might announce SNES or even N64 games were being added to their lineup. If they did that, we'd start to say, oh, okay, it's starting to look good now. But instead, we get the same old drip of games that we used to get with the Virtual Console, except it's even worse. Meanwhile, IGN and others are hailing the arrival of Metroid like it's the second coming. And I know it's close to Christmas, but really? Do they honestly expect Nintendo fans to drool over this? Nintendo need to fix their online service and fast. We've seen that sales in the Switch have dropped off, a little bit lately. And, that's probably just a natural part of the console's life cycle. From my point of view, I expect to see the sales pick up again once Smash arrives and we head towards the holiday season. But no matter how much the gaming press might try to spin this, the word, it's going to get out. Nintendo Switch Online is rubbish. It's crap. It's simply not a good service, and it's certainly not value for money, even if it's cheap. As the saying goes, you get what you pay for. It doesn't offer value for money, and it's just annoying. The fact that you've put down money for something that offers so little, and what it does offer, it does badly. That's not helping the system. No matter what, IGN and others say about the games they're dropping and all the rest of it, the fact of the matter is that it doesn't look good. And that's going to trickle down to people looking to buy the console. They will hear about the online service. Because people like me who were early adopters and who started to pay for this the day it arrived, will be saying to them, look, don't bother. And if they're looking at not being able to play games online because it's not value for money to get the online service, well, they might even consider not getting the system. And I know that might be an extreme example, but it could happen, and it could have a knock-on effect on sales. As it stands at the moment, Nintendo Switch Online is a liability to the system. It makes it look bad when there's so many other things about the system that make it look good. And, I've got my issues with other aspects of the system, but it's been selling well because it's a good handheld system and it has got some good games on it. But the online service, no, it's just not there. It's not worth paying for. Simple as that. But, that's my view anyway. What do you guys think about this? Do Nintendo need to up their game where their online service is concerned? Have you subbed to the service? And, what would you like to see them add or fix to make it value for money? Because, as I say, it's certainly not value for money at the moment. Let me know what you think in the comments anyway. And, if you liked this video and want to hear me witter on in future videos, do the usual and subscribe and hit the bell as well, because you might then have a slim chance of actually seeing when I upload future content, because YouTube don't seem to want to push creators' content to their subscribers. It's the way it is on YouTube now, unfortunately. But anyway, look, I'm going to stop moaning about that, and I'm going to stop moaning about Nintendo's online service, and I'm going to go and grab myself a cup of tea, and I will speak to you guys in the next one. Bye.